Have you ever opened your banking app, stared at your balance, and saw that beautiful six-figure number glowing back at you? That $100,000 mark, the one you've dreamed of for years. Congratulations, seriously. You've just entered a financial milestone that most people never reach in their lifetime. But here's the part. No one warns you about hitting $100,000 isn't the finish line. It's the beginning of a brand new game. See, getting the money. That's the easy part. Knowing what to do with it without accidentally wrecking your future, that's where things get tricky. You probably spent years hustling, skipping nights out, saving every bonus, maybe living on more instant noodles than you'd like to admit. And now that you've finally built that cushion, you're stuck with a weird problem. What now? It's funny when you're broke, everyone seems to have advice, but when you actually have money, the advice gets even louder and dumber. One person tells you to go all in on crypto. Your coworker swears by real estate. Your financial advisor pushes something called a balanced growth fund that somehow benefits them more than you. My name's Yong, and I make videos to help you understand how money really works, not how the financial industry wants you to think it works. If you've reached that six-figure milestone and want to turn it into something meaningful instead of just helping someone else get rich, hit that like button because we're about to go deep. Here's the truth. Most people who save $100,000 never turn it into real wealth. Why? Because they either freeze up and do nothing, or they get overconfident and do everything all at once. They chase investments. They don't understand panic when markets move, or burn through cash trying to enjoy life a little. But the real difference between people who stay stuck at six figures and those who reach seven is discipline, not luck, not timing. Discipline. Let's clear up one myth right now. Having $100,000 doesn't make you rich. It makes you stable. And there's a huge difference between stability and wealth. Wealth means your money is working for you. Stability means you just stopped your money from working against you. That's not bad. It's a huge win. But it's not the end of the story. You're not standing at the summit. You're standing at the starting line of the wealth building marathon. From here on, every decision you make with that $100,000, how you save, how you invest, what risks you take will determine whether you retire free or work until you die. So before you do anything with that money, before you buy stocks, real estate, or that shiny Tesla you've been eyeing, there's one move you need to make first. It's boring, it's counterintuitive, and it might just save you from financial disaster. Ready? Do absolutely nothing. Yeah, you heard that right. Sit still. Leave your money alone for a few weeks. Don't invest it. Don't spend it. Just breathe. You've spent years grinding to reach this point. Now you need a little space, not to make impulsive moves out of excitement or fear. Because the number one mistake people make when they hit six figures is rushing to use it. They think every day not investing means missing out, but impatience destroys more wealth than bad investments ever will. Take a step back and look at the big picture. Do you have debt, an emergency fund, steady income, real goals beyond just make more money? This pause, this little window of calm is where you start acting like an investor, not a spender. And that mindset will be worth more than any stock pick you'll ever find on Reddit. So you've paused. You've taken a breath. You haven't thrown your money into the next can't miss opportunity. Good. Now it's time to build something that actually lasts. The second thing you need to do, and yeah, it's not flashy, is get your foundation right. Because $100,000 without structure is like building a house on sand. One storm, one medical bill, one layoff, and the whole thing collapses. Let's start with something that sounds painfully boring, but is absolutely essential: your emergency fund. Listen, I get it. Saving cash in an account that earns next to nothing doesn't sound smart when everyone online is shouting about maximizing returns. But here's the reality. Your emergency fund isn't an investment. It's insurance. It's what protects your long-term plan from short-term chaos. So how much should you keep in that fund? The classic rule, 3 to 6 months of living expenses still works, but it's not one size fits all. If you're single, rent your place, and your job's pretty stable, 3 months is fine. If you got a family, a mortgage, or your income depends on the economy, stretch that to 6 months or more. Because here's the thing, most people learn too late. Emergencies never wait for good market timing. They don't happen when your stocks are up. They hit when everything's down: your job, your confidence, and your portfolio. That's why having cash on hand, real liquid cash, is king. Not crypto, not stocks, not I can sell this ETF if I need to. Because when life smacks you in the face and the market's down 30%, you'll wish you had a boring pile of cash ready to save you. And no, this cash doesn't just sit there doing nothing. Right now, high yield savings accounts are paying around 4 or 5% a year, rates we haven't seen in over a decade. That's real interest on safe money. Let me show you why that matters. If you've got $10,000 in a normal bank account, you'll make about $10 a year in interest, basically nothing. But in a high yield account at 5%, that's $500 a year. That's a free month of groceries or a few bills paid, all from money you had to keep liquid anyway. That's what smart money looks like. Once your safety net is in place, it's time for the least exciting but most powerful move you can make: kill your high interest debt. Credit cards, payday loans, personal loans, the stuff with double-digit interest rates. If you're carrying 20% debt while investing in something that averages 8 to 10%, you're not building wealth, you're funding someone else's. And sure, I know debt payoff doesn't sound sexy. There's no dopamine hit like I just bought a stock that's going to the moon, but there's something better: guaranteed returns. Because paying off debt at 20% interest is the same as earning a 20% return risk-free. And risk-free 20% returns don't exist anywhere else. If they did, someone would be in jail for it. Debt also messes with your head. It makes you feel like you're treading water even when you're swimming hard. Because every time you start to make progress, interest drags you back down. It's like trying to fill a bucket with a hole in the bottom. So patch the hole. Clear your high interest debt before you start investing big. Once that's gone, your cash flow improves instantly, your stress levels drop, and the money you invest after that will actually stay invested instead of being sucked into monthly payments. Here's where most people mess up. They try to do both. They want to invest and pay off debt because they're scared of missing out on market gains, but that's emotional thinking dressed up as math. You can't out-invest a 20% hole. Remember, building wealth isn't about speed. It's about staying in the game long enough to win. And you can't stay in the game if half your paycheck is going to Visa and MasterCard every month. Once your emergency fund is set and your high interest debt is crushed, you're finally ready to do what most people skip: learn the rules of the game. Because the tax system, retirement accounts, and investment tools, that's where the next level starts. All right, your foundation's set. You've got cash for emergencies, no high interest debt draining your income, and now that $100,000 is sitting there waiting for its next move. This is where most people either make their fortune or blow it. Because once you hit six figures, the financial world suddenly opens up to you, and not always in a good way. There are exclusive investment opportunities, advisors calling with complex sounding funds, friends telling you about the next big thing, and social media shouting 24/7 about crypto AI stocks or flipping houses. Here's the truth the wealthy know, but rarely say out loud. Simple always beats complicated. And the first step to playing the game right is using tax-advantaged accounts. If you're in the US, this means 401ks, IRAs, Roth IRAs, and even HSAs. These accounts aren't just for retirement, they're legal tax shelters for your money. When you invest through them, your money grows faster because the government takes a smaller cut. Let's break it down. In 2025, you can contribute over $23,000 to your 401k plus extra if you're over 50. That's money you don't pay taxes on. Today, it grows tax deferred for decades. Then you've got IRAs, traditional or Roth. Traditional lets you skip taxes now and pay them later. Roth lets you pay taxes now and grow your money tax-free forever. The key difference: if you think your taxes will be lower in retirement, go traditional. If you believe taxes will rise or your income will grow, Roth is your best friend. Either way, those contribution limits. They reset every year, and once they're gone for good. You can't go back and catch up on unused tax-free space. That's free money disappearing forever. And don't sleep on HSAs, health savings accounts. They're like stealth retirement accounts with triple tax advantages, tax-deductible contributions, tax-free growth, and tax-free withdrawals for medical expenses. Used right, they can double as a second retirement plan. Once you've maxed out these accounts, then you can think about where to invest that money. And here's where 99% of people get lost, because the investment world is designed to confuse you. You'll hear about hedge funds, private equity, exclusive opportunities, but those are distractions. The real wealth builders, they're investing in plain old index funds. Yeah, I know it sounds boring. It doesn't make headlines. You can't brag about it at dinner, but index funds quietly outperform the vast majority of fancy high-fee portfolios, including most professionals. An index fund simply tracks the overall stock market, like the S&P 500, instead of trying to beat it. And guess what? Over the last several decades, it's averaged around 10% annual returns, despite wars, recessions, inflation, and all the chaos in between. Here's the math that changes everything. If you invest your $100,000 into an index fund, earning 10% a year, and never touch it after 10 years, you'd have about $260,000. After 20 years, over $670,000. After 30 years, you cross $1.7 million. That's not get rich quick. That's get rich for sure, but the catch: you have to not mess it up. Most people do. They chase trends, try to time the market, or panic sell the moment things drop. It's wild. Even professional fund managers with all their degrees and data can't consistently beat the market. Yet your coworker Dave thinks he can do it from his phone during lunch break. The truth is, wealth isn't built by being clever. It's built by being consistent. And that's where dollar cost averaging comes in. Instead of dumping your full $100,000 in all at once risking bad timing, split it up. Invest $10,000 a month over 10 months. That way, sometimes you'll buy high, sometimes low, but over time you'll average out your costs and protect yourself from market swings. It's not sexy, but it's powerful because it turns investing into a system, not a gamble. And systems always beat emotions. From there, the next step is understanding diversification, real diversification, not just owning 10 mutual funds that all hold the same stocks. It's about spreading your money across different asset classes, stocks, bonds, and even real estate so that when one zigs, the other zags. And real estate, when done right, can be a major lever for long-term wealth, but not in the way most people think. So we've covered the basics, emergency fund debt taxes, and smart investing. Now let's talk about the next level, the things that actually separate people who get rich from people who stay rich. It starts with diversification, but not the fake kind your financial advisor likes to talk about. Real diversification isn't holding 20 different funds that all track the same handful of tech companies. It's about owning assets that behave differently when the economy changes. Stocks are your growth engine, bonds are your stability, and then there's real estate, the wealth multiplier most middle-class investors overlook. Now, I'm not talking about becoming a landlord who gets calls about broken toilets at midnight. I'm talking about using real estate strategically, because real estate gives you two things the stock market can't leverage and inflation protection. Let's say you use your $100,000 as down payments on multiple properties, each worth $80,000. You now control $320,000 worth of assets. If those properties appreciate by just 5% a year, that's a $16,000 gain on your $100,000 investment. That's a 16% return before even counting rental income. But direct ownership isn't for everyone. If you don't want the hassle, REITs, real estate investment trusts, let you own pieces of large-scale real estate apartment buildings, offices, shopping centers without ever dealing with a tenant. They pay out dividends regularly and can give you exposure to the real estate market with the simplicity of buying a stock. And while we're at it, don't forget international diversification. Most people don't realize that the US makes up only about half of the global stock market. That means there's another half in Europe, Asia, emerging markets growing at different times for different reasons. Adding some international exposure can help smooth out returns and open the door to growth when the US economy slows down. But let's be real, even with perfect diversification, the hardest part of building wealth isn't the numbers. It's you, your emotions, your discipline, your behavior. Because money doesn't disappear in crashes, it disappears when people panic, when they sell low buy high or constantly change their plan. The people who actually build long-term wealth. They set up systems that protect them from themselves. Automate everything you can. Have money? Automatically move from your checking account to your investments every month. No decisions, no hesitation. Because when investing happens, automatically emotions don't get a vote. You can't panic sell if your system is buying more shares for you every time the market dips. Set rules and actually follow them. Rebalance once a year, not every time the news freaks out. Increase your investment contributions when you get a raise. Promise yourself you'll never check your portfolio in the middle of a crash. Because the biggest threat to your financial future isn't recessions, it's your own impulses. Then there's the silent killer of wealth. Most people ignore fees. A tiny 1% annual fee on a $100,000 portfolio might not sound like much, but over 30 years, it can cost you more than $60,000 in lost returns. That's why low-cost index funds matter. Instead of paying 1 to 2% in management fees, you could pay just 0.03%. Same market, same returns. But over time, the difference adds up to hundreds of thousands of dollars straight into your pocket instead of someone else's. And finally, taxes. Every dollar you pay unnecessarily is a dollar that can't compound for you. Learn where to hold each investment, tax-efficient funds in taxable accounts bonds or REITs in your retirement accounts, and remember to use tax loss harvesting when appropriate. You don't have to become an accountant, just understand the basics. But here's something no one talks about when you cross $100,000, the psychology of having options. When you stop living paycheck to paycheck, you start living differently. You make decisions from confidence, not desperation. You don't have to say yes to every job, every opportunity, or every deal. You get to choose, and that's real wealth. Having money doesn't just buy things. It buys freedom from bad choices. It buys time, peace, options. And that freedom, that space to breathe and think is what money is really for. But here's the catch: most people lose it just as fast as they earn it. They hit six figures and immediately start upgrading everything: cars, apartments, vacations. They call it rewarding themselves, but really they're just hitting the reset button on their finances with fancier bills. That's lifestyle inflation, and it's the trap that keeps people stuck in the middle class forever. Wealthy people play by a different rule: live off your passive income, not your net worth. Your $100,000 isn't permission to spend more, it's a tool to make sure you never have to spend it again. If you invest it smartly and let compounding do its thing, that $100,000 can turn into $1.7 million in 30 years. That's the power of time, patience, and consistency. That's how you turn comfortable into free. So yeah, celebrate your six figures. You've earned it, but don't treat it like a finish line. Treat it like what it really is: the starting line of your wealth journey. Because from here, if you make the right moves, it's not just about having money, it's about never having to worry about it again.